Welcome everybody to the October issue of the Flatcar office hours call. We have news regarding a systemd update and a live demo today, as well as our usual release planning. I'll share the agenda really quick. I'm seconding for Danielle today. She's out enjoying vacation. So I'm going to lead you through the meeting. Before we start, Flatcar is a CNCF project, and this meeting adheres the CNCF code of conduct. Basically, be nice to each other.
Be nice to each other, or else.
No. Just be nice. There don't need to be any motivation to be nice, because that's a natural way to exist. All right. Eventually, I will find the share scar. Here we go. Okay. This is our agenda. So we'll have a brief intro round because we have a few new folks joining the call. Then Adrian will give us a brief update on systemd 256, on the upgrade that is pending and some changes that this will introduce. And then I'll be doing the a cluster API Kubernetes in place update demo. After that, we will again call out that Docker 26 is in beta, that there are breaking changes to Docker 24 because some features have been deprecated and people should test. After that, we will go into the release planning. That said, let's start with the intro round. New folks, maybe start with Jan. Jan, when you're done introducing, just name another one to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Jan. I just joined Tilo's team. So right now I'm basically just trying to look around and understand everything. And I will be a contributor to Flatcar and maybe potentially a maintainer. Okay, so that's it. I'm not really sure if you could again say who's new, or should I just pick anyone?
Guido, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, on my side, the first time joining your call, mostly to see the new updates and looking at Flatcar since Tilo spoke to me about it at FOSDEM this year. I'm freelance system engineer based in Berlin and in Italy nearby Milan. That's all, folks.
Awesome. Everybody else is regular, basically tech team of Flatcar maintainers. Awesome to see you folks. Giving the mic to Adrian for the systemd changes.
Hello, my name is Adrian. I'm a software engineer working at Cloudbase, and I'm also a Flatcar maintainer. Should I continue with the introductions or
just go ahead with systemd?
Okay. So we are planning to upgrade the systemd from 255 to 256, the current stable version of systemd. And I would like, it's going to be a process, and I would like to shout out on all the channels that we have, starting today, that the systemd 256, it's going to not boot if C group v1 is enabled. So that is an important backwards incompatibility that has to be documented, and people should know what to do. There is a way to circumvent this fail to boot part from systemd. It has to be a kernel parameter. So it involves a kernel parameter, an additional kernel parameter set in order to basically continue using C groups. But by default, Flatcar will not be booting basically if C groups v1 is enabled, once the merge is done, of course. The life cycle or the milestone for this one, I suppose it's going to land in alpha in 1 month. That's the idea. So that was all from me. I will post here the pull request. there is an ongoing discussion on the thread. So if someone uses C Group V1 and wants to continue using it with Flatcar, every feedback is welcome.
So, are we going to block the updates inside the update engine, or like
yeah, Jeremy suggested that when a Flatcar version that has this disabled will try to be up to basically an older version to be upgraded to the new one that it has C Groups V1 not enabled and not booting. We should block the update. Still ongoing discussion on what's the best way. Of course, we'll have to have functional tests with this scenario in mind to make sure that everything goes well and it's documented. Of course, a lot of documentation. Maybe we'll take another path, like if it's already enabled, maybe we'll set in the upgrade path the required kernel parameter. So I don't know which is currently the best one.
That probably would be I don't know, the smoothest way to update for the users. Let you know that the post install hook adds some kernel parameter, and that you can just keep going.
I mean,
but ideally it would be like stop using Sigurd V1. It's all deprecated like for ages. Just stop. Yeah, I think the reason for using Sigurd V1 was that Sigurd V2 didn't have the memory controller or some other, I don't remember. But I think that's not the case anymore. So
although
Java users probably still want
watching at the bugs from systemd, people are still using it and they are complaining on GitHub issues. So it's a real issue. People upgrading systemd and then having the operating system not booting anymore. So
that's why this kernel parameter thing would be it would be best option in my opinion, obviously.
I think the path with the least pain should be included. I think.
All right. I guess I'll comment something on the GitHub issue.
Absolutely. So
the
way I see it, there's like two different issues to solve. The first is, do we even want to support C Groups V1 going forward? And given that upstream makes it very clear they do not, like they don't accept patches for C Group V1 misbehavior. They disable it. They need a kernel flag now to actually use it. Should we stop supporting it?
Yeah, so maybe we should just announce that in half year we stop.
And then, I mean, we switched to C Groups V2 and we're shipping C Groups V2 support since November 2021, right? So that's been 3 years. And we want, by default, new nodes would use V2. Only if the upgrade logic detects this is the C Groups V1 node and we're upgrading, only then it would add the kernel option to actually go back to V1. And there's of course documentation out there for people who want to force their new provisionings on V1. However, back in the day, that was necessary actually because some of the more widespread Kubernetes applications and utilities didn't even support V2. But by now, all of this stuff is on V2, and I'm maybe.
I remember the Java applications were also
very old JVMs, and they actually had fixes backported to like Java 8 who addressed that problem, which is interesting. But I mean, people use it. So this is the first question: like, do we want to continue supporting it? even after we explicitly already mark it as deprecated, right? And upstream has done so for ages. And the second question, if you don't, how do we handle existing instances on V1? Now, I think the second question can be relatively easy because we can just refuse to upgrade if the respective instance is in V1, and we can easily detect that in the post-upgrade script, right? So the post-installer script can check, is this a V1 system, and then just fail. And that will keep this node running. It would just report an error in upgrading. So that would be some probably in between path, but just food for thought. Question?
Yeah, just one note for supporting Sigrid V1. I think that we would support Sigrid V1 as long as the next LTS is supported, because I think that next LTS will still support Sigrid V1. But once the next LTS goes, has a end of life, then probably we could drop it. But that would mean probably another year or so of the support. And for the people that still need Sigrid V1, we recommend them, let's use LTS for 1 year. You have one more year.
That's actually a good idea. I like it. Because we want to go into LTS with system D255, and then they have a path forward for the next year. That's great. I love it. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I write a comment about it in the GitHub PR.
Awesome. Good talk. All right.
Okay. Thank you. That was all from my side.
Awesome. So I have like a 15-minute demo for in-place updates, and I'm going to use my my second machine that I joined the call with, the Linux machine. I'll walk you briefly through the demo, and then I'll go through the demo. This is a live demo, so anything that breaks will break live, which is fun. So let me start by sharing from that other machine. Okay. You should now see yourselves. This is nice. Fractal view. All right. So this will actually use a demo from a repository. So you can reproduce everything in this demo. It's very easy. It's automated. It's scripted. You just check this out. And then we're going to demo Cluster API on OpenStack. So we need an OpenStack instance. And this is the one I'll be using for demo. It's just our test instance that we use for OpenStack release tests as well, for Flatcar for OpenStack. And from this instance, you will need a Cloud's YAML file. So the demo knows how to access your OpenStack instance, and you will need a few settings like that you fill in environment template, like the failure domain name, network ID that you're going to use, the cloud ID name, and the Flatcar release image that you've uploaded to your OpenStack instance, so you can actually deploy Flatcar instances there. I'll share something else.
Just one note, there are too many steps. If it is supposed to be easy to reproduce, I would expect a curl bash idiom used here.
Sorry, come again?
I'm saying just skim through the README, and I just said there are too many steps to do the demo, and you said it's easy. I rather expected to have, like, the CRL pipe to bash, and
that is so horrible.
You should have think about that.
I do take the criticism though. There is a TLDR section, and that's what we're actually gonna do. So I obviously have the clouds YAML there that we need. I have a filled-in OpenStack env, which basically connects all of the bits here to the OpenStack instance. And so I will just source this. And now I have new commands. The first command will basically check all of the prerequisites that we need. And it will even download cluster cuddle and kind binaries if you don't have those locally. Obviously, I prepared this, so I have everything locally. So the next step is to set up a local kind cluster, which will be the management cluster for the cluster API OpenStack cluster. So the management cluster basically lets you provision worker clusters, and we're going to work with the worker cluster most of the time. But all of the business logic, the intelligence, and the state will be in the management cluster, so we need that. It is a super minimal kind cluster with the cluster API OpenStack management operator installed, and that's it. It'll be done in a very short time. So this is actually something I can show almost interactively. Now, cert manager starting on the kind cluster. It'll also install Calico, I think. So we can talk with the worker nodes, or maybe later. And we now can use KC management get nodes, and we see there's the control plane node, and it has all of the stuff installed that we need. And now the thing you would need to do if you do this for the first time is you need to generate the worker cluster YAML that you would then apply. I will skip this step because I already have this YAML generated, and I have it slightly modified. Because for this demo, I want in-place updates to work, and by default, in-place updates are disabled. Now, if you take a look at the README that's shipped with the subdirectory in the repo, there's a section on like modifications that you need to do in that YAML. It's very straightforward in order to open in-place updates if you want to demo that. If you just want to play around with Cluster API and OpenStack, you don't need to do that. Okay. So the next command will take a little longer. So I'll do something to keep us busy in the meantime. And that will be deploying the Cluster API OpenStack cluster. Now, we need S-Shuttle for my specific setup. S-Shuttle is kind of a tunnel tool that that will connect my local machine to the OpenStack server. So I can use private networks in the OpenStack server, because this is all a demo, a test setup. Nothing, no IPs are public. All are private. So we'll need this tunnel in order for everything to work. Okay. The cluster is starting to be provisioned. The nodes will now slowly boot. That will take some time. And to fill in the time, I thought, what better opportunity than this, filling 5 minutes and giving like short overview of what a sysax actually is. So for this to demo, I will just boot a local QEMU instance of Flatcar without any configuration, without any parameters, to show you that Kubernetes is not shipped by default. So I will now show you something that you will not be able to see, which is fun for a demo. All right. So in USR bin, there is no Q, whatever you see there. I don't have a kubelet installed, and if I list the system extensions that are active, you only see the extensions that are already shipped with Flatcar, with the base OS, which is Containerd, Docker, and the QEMU OEM support. And this is fun because this is a ephemeral instance, so we can do some fun stuff. I can check where Docker is. Docker is here. sorry, whoop, you see the binary. I can start it, but if I remove the reference to the Docker sysext and then refresh the sysexts, we will now see the Docker sysext isn't listed anymore. The Docker binary doesn't exist anymore in the file system because it was unmerged, and Docker version obviously returns nothing. How does this get us Kubernetes? Well, we'll add a boot configuration now, and that boot configuration will tell Flatcar, download the Kubernetes sysext, put it into the file system, download it from here, from the bakery, put it into the file system. This can be any HTTPS host. You can self-host that. You can use our releases from GitHub, wherever you want to pull this from. And additionally, download an update configuration so we can actually update the Kubernetes sysext in place. Updates will basically stage the new version of the sysext next to the previous one, and then recreate a symlink to the new one, and then that will be the update. So I will now start Flatcar again. I will give it the standalone configuration, so it can actually fetch and install the sysext. It now boots. It takes a few milliseconds longer. Fortunately, I have a good internet connection. It'll download the Kubernetes sysext at boot time, install it, and then we'll have kubelet available, just like magic. We have Kubernetes, and that's because that's because our initialization configuration basically downloaded this and inserted it. And if you look into usr bin q whatever, you see you have the kubelet and Kubernetes binaries right here, and this is how this works. The other part that we told the system to do is we told it to also create this file, a sysupdate file, which is a complementary service. So that sysupdate file watches this URL, basically where we publish Kubernetes updates. It will match files with this sysext pattern, and if it sees anything that is newer than what we have in opt extensions Kubernetes, so it's Semver aware. And if it sees anything newer on the HTTPS endpoint than what we have here, it'll automatically download it, stage it, and then update a soft link so that the sysext can actually ingest the new version. For demo purposes, I deactivated the systemd sysupdate unit. I will now start it manually. It will now detect that the new version of the Kubernetes update of the Kubernetes sysext has been published. So if you see here, our Kubernetes version is version 131. And we now see that we have two versions here, 131 and the most current 131, that's 135. Systemd sysext has not been refreshed yet. So if I run kubelet version, it's still on the old version. I could just in place refresh without reboot, but on a real Kubernetes deployment, people might have pods running. So the clean method to actually update Kubernetes here is to reboot the instance, evacuate the nodes beforehand, evacuate the pods beforehand, obviously, and the new Kubernetes version will be installed. And that's a single node demo. And that's not very impressive because it's just, a local QEMU instance, no real Kubernetes involved. But our cluster API OpenStack cluster now has finished provisioning, and I can use my kubectl wrapper for the worker cluster to look at worker nodes. So we see here that those worker nodes were deployed with Kubernetes version 133. We already know that the new version in the bakery is 135. So how are we going to update those nodes? First, let's take a look at one of the nodes. Actually, I want to do cat. So we're using the same update file here, with the difference that we actually have the systemd sys update unit active from the start, right? Because we want it to act on updates. We don't want to log in. I'm just logging in here for demo purposes. And it actually acted already because it's pretty fast. So if I look into opt extensions Kubernetes, I see two extensions, two sysex basically here. I see I'm still on the old version. That means the node would now need a reboot. Now, how do we coordinate the reboot without technically SSHing into the node? There are reboot coordinators for Kubernetes, like QAD, and those act on flag files, right? And I just told systemd sys update in this configuration to please create a flag file, and it is right here. So after detecting and downloading a new version of the Kubernetes sysex, systemd sys update just created this neat little file for me. And this can tell QD, if I apply the QD operator to my worker cluster, that this node needs a refresh. Now I'm gonna log out here, check again. Those nodes are up. They're on 133, and I will now apply a slightly modified QD configuration. This is almost the upstream configuration from the QD project, which is also a CNCF project. I did some minor modifications, mainly for demo purposes, and that's basically just cutting down timeouts. Usually it'll take its due time, check every 15 minutes. I made it check every 10 seconds, so we can basically see it act. Now what will happen here is it'll detect the reboot flag, and then because it's configured to only reboot one node at a time, it will evacuate all pods from a random node, and it will reboot that node, and then it will uncordon that node, and it will get the node back in the cluster and repopulate the node. So the update will have applied. We still see all three nodes in ready state. It usually takes about 30 seconds for QD to pick up the hint that we need to reboot. And one of the three nodes will actually, I don't need the white output now. One of the three nodes will flip into status scheduling disabled. Anytime.
See, I was asking you about the
right. It's the demo effect
for the demo gulch.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Thank you, Krashimir. You actually awesome. This is great. Okay, so we see that scheduling is disabled for the control plane node. There are like numerous ways you can configure QD in which nodes to pick first. It's probably not a good idea to pick the control plane node first. In this case, it just happened because I didn't really dive down into QD configuration. It will now reboot because QD will make it so, and it'll come up and it'll have the Kubernetes version upgraded. As soon as the node is fully up again, QD will uncordon the node, scheduling disabled will disappear, and then the next node will go into scheduling disabled, and so on, node after node, until your whole Kubernetes worker cluster is fully and automatically updated to the newest version. And that is how you in-place update Kubernetes on a cluster API cluster on Flatcar. And that's my little demo. As I mentioned, this one second. Cool. Just in time, Chrome froze on the other. Oh no, it's back. Okay. So as I mentioned, all of what you've just seen, including all of the neat little scripts, all of the automation, all of this is available in a repo, so you can reproduce it. The only thing you need is an OpenStack installation somewhere. All right, I see Guido has a question.
Yeah, I mean, like you probably already answered partially because I will try to look at the script you uploaded, but like I was curious about the way you use kind. So basically you managed to use re-instances spawned via the Flatcar container system and then like having kind as internal installation, or how was that?
Yeah, kind is basically just used as a management cluster on my local Linux machine. And this is just for remote controlling and remote provisioning cluster API OpenStack clusters on some remote OpenStack instance. You need some Kubernetes as a management cluster, and kind is just a super low-hanging fruit. It's
yeah, I'm using kind, that's why I was asking. So you just used it locally on your machine?
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. That's a good question.
I usually use K3D. It's a similar, but a little bit different in the sense that you can also use it for bare metal things easier.
Nice.
But it does the same things.
Cool. This is K3D is the like Kubernetes on Docker, right?
Yes, it runs in Docker.
Yeah.
So,
perfect. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's also very lightweight.
Yeah, it's cleaner to delete and to wipe everything out. After.
Cool. All right. Any more questions? Cool. Thank you for watching. My Linux machine will leave the call now because there's no reason for it to remain. All right. And the OpenStack cluster will continue updating. All right. Thank you for watching. We have one more item on the agenda before we go to the release planning. And that item is the shout out to people who are using outdated and deprecated features in Docker 24. I will share my screen. I will share the tab for that. So we have this nice foldable thingy here in the agenda. Most of those items were deprecated in Docker 24 already. Now we're shipping a new Docker update to Docker 26 in the next upcoming major stable release, which is currently in beta. And these features are missing. So if you're using the device mapper storage driver or any other of the items that are listed here, this update might bring you in trouble. Unfortunately, we can't really detect most of this, so we need to rely on your feedback. please test the new beta version and make sure that the new beta version works with your workloads. All right. Handing off to Sayan for the release planning.
Hello. So I'll share my screen. Cool. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, looks good.
Great. Yeah. So just to give you an overview, so we are in between a release right now. So this is the one. No, sorry. Uh, yeah, this is the one. Yes. So we are doing a major alpha release, beta release, and a minor, as our maintenance release for stable branch. Um, and it's in progress now. It's definitely is looking good, so should be releasing probably tomorrow. Tomorrow we would go through the rest of the steps and do the final release. But I think the team is as usual working on a few of the items. But I wanted to take this call for two items that I wanted to discuss. Was one was to go through this list. So I have in through the in progress list. So I see here a few of the issues like are either assigned or like for example, I'll go through them one by one so that it's easier and I can mark them. So Adrian, are you still working on this one? I definitely see a progress in here.
Yes, I have worked on this matter. Actually, we had a discussion with the Qualis team,
Right.
and they basically the issue creator needs to say that if the current state it's okay or not. So basically, we are waiting for feedback. Everything they asked, it was basically done. So we are just waiting for the confirmation that the documentation and everything for Hyper-V is good.
Great.
So from my side, it is basically done, but waiting for confirmation from the issue creator.
Can you drop them a message on this? I see the last message, or like just to get a
Okay,
update from them.
I
Okay,
will drop a message there on the thread.
great. Thank you.
I know that Joseph is not interacting for representing Qualis anymore because he left, so we might need to ping someone else.
Okay.
Joseph opened that issue. It's his account.
Maybe we can ping on that issue, and then if we don't get any like contact, then we can try to find other contacts.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
Okay. The next issue is this one. So I see nobody is actively working on this. So should I move this into the backlog once
Yeah,
again?
absolutely. Yes.
The scale with support, I definitely see progress in here. So I'll keep this open. I mean, for Matthew to come back and update on this ticket. Yeah. So this one we are actively working on. Yeah, for this one we are actively working on the TPM and shame and secure boot. So keeping this here. The next issue is this one. I don't know why it's not.
Jeremy did some initial updates, but he asked us to take it over. Well,
Okay.
so far, no one did that. I mean, this is a bit maybe larger item because there were some bigger changes. As it's not a Python project anymore, I think it's more like Golang. So, but I think Jeremy did most of the work, but it just needs to be taken over the finish line.
Okay. I'll then move it accordingly. Thanks, Rajimir. The next one is this one. So again, I think I'll wait on Matthew to come back and report on this one. Boot size. Adrian, do you have any update? I think we are actively working on this one, so this can be.
Yes, this will be a forever work in progress, basically. Just recently, because of the Krasimira's patch on the systemd profiles, or basically
Oh yeah,
Jenkins
the profiling.
profiles, there were some make flags that actually shrank everything due to compilation. I will add that part to here.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Uh, the next is this one. So yeah, this also have not been progressed in a while. So Thilo, what do you think on this one?
Yeah, I would close it at this point. It is still open because we were considering to add configuration files and to integrate it with our way of handling etc. But I think by now this could be separate issues, so I think we can just close it.
Okay.
Yeah, and also like upstream didn't want to have any configuration files, and I
Oh,
don't
they
think.
don't. Okay, okay. Well, that's a good point then.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else to.
What's the latest message in that? I'm curious.
Um, it's by Kai.
Config's good to go. Blah 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 blah. Follow up.
Yeah, because we have our own overlay for the /etc, and we probably could migrate to use the systemd stuff instead of doing it our own way.
Yeah, but I mean, I think this is an integration issue. It's
Yeah, yeah,
fine.
yeah.
We should have a separate tracking issue for switching to convex for etc.
I
Okay.
think so. Yeah.
Uh,
This
if
is
you,
something Kai probably worked, or sometimes he seems to be working in his free time, but
okay.
yeah, I don't think we will see much progress in this one.
With the promos, I think let Matthew to come back again. I definitely see it's active and
Oh
definitely
yeah.
there are a few questions in here. So maybe Matthew can answer those.
Yeah,
Uh,
on the Proxmox part, I have some experience. If I might take it if I don't have anything else on my plate after the upgrade, the
sure.
system upgrade,
Okay.
because we
Sure.
are using Proxmox also.
Okay. Chewy, I yeah,
That's fixed, just needs merging to
yes, in beta, right?
able. Yeah, I'm not sure. It was Matthew who did the last merge, I think.
Yeah, guess we were asking, waiting on the issue filer if they had the issue. Maybe we can ping
Yes.
again and close this because we have it already in the alpha and currently in beta as well.
Yeah, we usually close them from at least from the development board as soon as they got released in any version. And since this is an alpha, I think we're good.
But didn't you end up backporting it for beta? And I don't know. I don't remember if for stable too.
Hmm.
I think there was something about
There
that.
was a backport to beta, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if there was a backward, then this can be just closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll update the issues accordingly and ask folks to create them, new ones. Next on the in review, so Krasimir, do you need review on this one, or is this like
Nothing has been happening on that front. It's something that I will want to eventually do, but this is yeah,
okay?
just maybe
Uh,
when I have some free
I
time.
think, yeah, I think we can move it to long term because
Yeah, that's a long-term thing. Yeah.
things have moved on a little, and I also know that Shui has looked at the same thing from a different angle, so the two of you might want to team up on that.
I think it was about moving the e-build repositories, which is also another thing. This was
Yeah,
about only the manifest files, so yeah. And
okay.
another one that was the like improve something. Oh yeah, yeah. That's basically something I wrote to handle my own workflow because I'm using Git work trees, and they break when I run SDK from the Git work tree because, well, Git repo is not available anymore. So this is some kind of an improvement, but yeah, from what I have gathered, like I seem to be the only person who's using Git work trees, so no one was hit by that.
But
Yeah, so it's basically waiting for review. If someone fancies a review, then yeah, I'd be happy.
cool. Um, this one is on Adrian. I'll open the PR. There's a PR, right? Yeah, this one.
Yes. Recently, I came across 3 or 4 issues on the matter of adding modules, kernel modules, to our Flatcar images. So this, of course, for example, in this case, it will increase substantially the size of the image.
Right.
And of course, if is even worse if it increases the size of the init.rd. So I was thinking I actually created another issue where I would like to start a discussion on how to basically extend Flatcar in a way that is viable in the future. So I was thinking if one user needs a Linux kernel to actually be able to have all the documentation required to create a CSEX for that.
Right.
Uh,
And
I remember that kernel modules and physics don't go that well together. This is, I don't know, like physics is enabled way too late for.
Not in the case of, for example, on-demand usage. For example, you have a container that starts at some moment during very late boot, and it wants to actually use Bluetooth, iGPU, or GPUs. So basically, you don't need them in initrd like the networks drivers or the storage drivers. Or maybe you want to use Bluetooth or basically anything else than the required to boot ones.
So
Yeah.
lately on ARM64, I've been running QEMU with a display so I can actually see what's going on. And in that case, you see grub, but then when the kernel initially boots, you don't see anything. The display goes blank. And then once the modules kick in, after it's got past the init RD, then you can see something again. And I think that's okay. But I wonder how far you'd want to go with this. Like the Intel one isn't too bad, but if you were to add the AMD GPU stuff, that's huge. I don't know how much Flatcar really needs this, but as Adrian says, maybe there are some use cases where an extension would be useful. But yeah, I think it can be later in boot for graphics. Certainly, if you don't need it to be visible immediately.
Yeah, just wanted to say we already are jumping over some hoops to provide support for NVIDIA drivers. So obviously this is a different scenario than Intel and AMD drivers because they are basically part of the kernel sources, and NVIDIA drivers something need to be pulled anyway. So yeah, I guess that if people wanted to have support for NVIDIA driver, then some people will want to have also AMD. But yeah, but as you said, this is huge, so it would be better if it was some kind of physics or
Yeah, or actually anything that you can run a container in privileged mode and do ins mod. So basically a way or a documentation on how to basically at least build those. Because, for example, and it's not that simple because if you want to build a kernel driver, it might enable some kernel config trees. So basically, you won't have one; you'll have maybe 10 drivers. That is not that easy. That you have a KO and you just put it in.
And it will be tied to one specific kernel version as well, generally speaking.
Exactly, and for example, the iGPU stuff, the Intel ones need firmware.
So something that comes to mind is we still have this kind of legacy concept of the dev container, which basically pulls in compilers and then emerge environment and all of that. So you can do basic emerge and basic package builds on Flatcar. If you could convert that to a system and ship it as an optional SysEx, provided as an optional SysEx for each release, then what users would need to do is they would need to list the dev container SysEx as a enabled SysEx in that conf file that we're already supporting. And then the instance would basically come up with more or less a full Gentoo environment, and you can start building custom kernel modules. And that would be neat, right?
Or we could provide our own SysEx4 with iGPU drivers and AMD64 drivers, just like we do for ZFS.
Yeah, that would work as well, but that would basically move all of the management and build load to us, while when we just provide a very streamlined way to have kind of an automated development or at least compile and install experience on Flatcar, this would move it to the users, and they could be a lot more flexible, right? Like for every new KMod that we would need to support, we would actually need to add that support and then ship the KMod as a SysEx or similar. While if we have a dev container as a SysEx, the users are entirely free to build their own stuff on top of Flatcar. They already can with the dev container, but it's really, really clunky.
Yeah, but it's a bit painful that you need to do it every time you update, right? So bunch of trade-offs, right?
In a way, yes, that is painful, but it can actually it could be automated up to a point where it wouldn't be painful.
Yeah, probably we could maybe provide some easy way of doing all these steps. Like you invoke a script like install AMD drivers, and after 5 or 10 minutes you have them, or something like that. So
then right now, kind of the foundation for that is missing because we don't have a dev container SysEx. So I think that would be an interesting thing.
Yeah, currently our system, the SysEx bakery, is basically just pulling in stuff from various sources and just like that. But maybe so I was thinking something similar to our ZFS extension, which is in the /script, but moved over to the bakery so that you can do the same thing like we do it with ZFS, but from another repository, basically. This is how I envision it.
Mm-hmm. And I think the missing link is the dev container. That would need to be a SysEx that we ship as a system dependent one, because it needs to update with new Flatcar releases, right? But we already have a mechanism in place for that. So we would need someone to convert the legacy dev container Docker container, or it's a system DN spawn container even, I think, into something that is a SysEx. Cool. All right.
Okay. Adrian, could you write the discussion we had now on the issue itself?
No, I will leave it like this until we figure out something, because I wouldn't put 20 megabyte in for this sort of, I don't know, maybe niche. I would we can see the feedback.
And I feel guilty, because I added the Docker buildx, which was 70 megabyte binary. I mean, on compressed file system was still 20. And yeah. you know, at first I would say there was like 5 MB increase of the AMD64 compressed image. So for me, that wouldn't be a problem. But if we plan to, well, eventually put the graphic drivers into some cores and some other kind of extension, then yeah, probably we don't want to commit to having graphic drivers temporarily distributed to our production images.
Yeah, because you won't be able to get them out because things will break.
Exactly. So once you get them in, it will be hard time to get them out.
I think we can probably take this discussion again on Matrix and discuss it there. And for the time, I mean, we are almost 2 minutes left, so I'll move on to the next. I think that's mostly it. Uh, there are, I guess, this one.
Yeah.
Oh, this one is.
Yeah, this is coming from a customer
Yeah.
from the Slack channel. I have an option for that, and we are coming again to the same thing, having drivers in ithRD at this point. So, yeah,
Oh man, everything boils down to the same thing.
yes,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Cool. I think that's it from in progress and testing and the review PRs on issues. One thing I wanted to discuss was the LTS release. We haven't done one yet, but I think it's a good time after the stable we can do one. Does that sound good? Because we would have the Docker changes as well, and then we can go for the LTS, and we would have the system D 255 as KGM mentioned.
Yeah, that would make sense. So we have the C groups V1 option for folks interested in C groups V1, and we have the latest Docker that will continue to be supported for the next year. That sounds good to me.
Okay, cool. I think that's all for release planning. Handing over to Tilo.
Awesome. The new Docker is coming to LTS as well. Everybody on Docker 24 or before, please test the new beta. You still have a few months left. All right. Is there anything else anyone wants to talk about? Open mic time.
Yeah, maybe just I wanted to say one thing. I have created this pull request for adding the package automation thing. It's a big one. It's like 6,000 lines of terrible bash code. So I'm not surprised that it's still hanging there. What I remember Chewy mentioned that you wanted to maybe review that.
Yeah, I think I missed it. So yeah, please, I will take a look.
Don't worry. What I was basically thinking about that. Yeah, it's quite a big pull request. So I was thinking if there are more people that are interested in reviewing this, then I could probably make like a meeting and just walk through the code.
Actually, yeah, I think that would be a good idea. We could even make a recording of that, and probably a one-off, not part of the regular series that we do.
No, it will be a one-off.
Yeah, and it would be great because you could basically walk people through how we upgrade packages with upstream Gentoo. So that'd be cool.
Oh, that's a separate thing. I think didn't we have a video that I basically did my workflow on the package updates?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Maybe we just do a refresh.
I think he did one not that long ago in using it, but obviously he's talking about reviewing it now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that walking through the code would be one, recording and maybe using it would be another one, or just writing a documentation of some kind how to do the package updates.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to raise. So I don't know, like how to conclude this. Would people be interested in such a recording or meeting when I walk through the code?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm off next week, but
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
don't worry. So I think we can do when you're back. So yeah, I think I won't forget too much until then. So yeah,
I'd definitely join, and we could reference the recording like everywhere, so that would make sense.
sure thing. Okay, yeah, that's it from me.
All right, folks. Anyone else? All right, great having you, folks. See you at the developer sync in 2 weeks, and have fun until then. Bye, folks.
Bye.
Thanks for having me. Have a nice
Bye
day.
bye.
Bye bye.